Hello everyone, welcome back to Saddle Up Shooting. I'm Dave Strohmeyer, your host. If this is your first time here, glad to know you. Alright, I did a recent community poll saying that I was going to test various calibers that I own. 22 caliber, 24 caliber, 25 caliber, 26 caliber, 27 caliber, and 30 caliber. But different cartridges and different chamberings for each individual caliber. Now, the one that came up the most positive, I guess by 36%, was the 24 caliber. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So come back in a moment, folks. Target set up at 100 yards. Let's get to shooting and testing. See you soon. Okay, we're going to get into these 24 calibers, 243 Winchester and the 6mm ARC. Old versus new. 1955 for the 243 Winchester and 2020 for the 6mm ARC. I think you're going to find out that the ballistics is really similar as far as everything that we do that corresponds to hunting. Now, I recently watched a podcast by Hornady that talked about a wandering zero. Now, they talk about a pretty large sample size, a minimum of 15 to 20 shots to determine what your true MOA is on your rifles. They were talking about, in some cases, because it does a circular pattern, that's how you find out what your wandering zero is. It could be 1 to 2 inches, even though you might have a half inch MOA rifle. I thought that was really interesting. And they also talked about, you know, the zero that we always work on the target, where we shoot, adjust our scope, etc., to get it in balance with our bore alignment to go ahead and shoot. And they were also talking about bore axis alignment. That was something that was new to me. So I encourage you to go to the Hornady podcast and get all the information that you can if you're really serious about getting the most out of your rifle. All right, I thought it was kind of funny, the one thing they didn't talk about, which is what I always talk about, which is the gun is fine. It's the ammunition that we need to work on. That's the internal ballistics and external ballistics that is important to us. All right, so the 243 is going to be first up. Now, I'm going to be shooting just factory Winchester ammunition with 80 grain. According to the box, the speed on this is supposed to be 3,350 feet per second. Now, I doubt that in my rifle, because this is a 22-inch Remington Model 700, and everything that I've shot in it has been 100 to 150 feet per second slower than the velocities listed in the manuals that I'm looking for, or even factory ammo. But it is a very accurate rifle, and it was, I got it from my brother-in-law, so I'm keeping it. Okay, so I'm going to shoot the first three, got the chronograph on, and I'm going to shoot at the left-hand target there, and we'll see how this 80 grain shoots. This rifle is not zeroed for it, so it's going to be interesting to find out where it hits. And the chronograph, of course, is going to give me the actual numbers that I'm looking for. Alright, so we'll set that up. Alright, we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and get these first shots. Camera should be on down there. Well, let me go check. Be right back. Okay, the camera's on down there. All safety precautions taking place. I'm on Bureau of Land Management land. I've got high berms all the way around me. There's nobody here. I'm the only one. I got my eyes on, my ears in. This is factory ammunition, so go through all those precautions to be safe anytime that you're doing some testing. All right, so let's go ahead and see how this baby shoots with 80 grains. That ought to be smoking fast. The 80 grain is a varmint round, so don't get confused by it too much. Okay, parallax looks good. (3,227). So that is almost 130 feet per second slower than what's listed on the box. So that tells me the rifle is consistent. I told you, this is a little bit slower. Now I'm sure those numbers were off of a 24-inch barrel. This is a 22-inch barrel, so you'd only subtract, 50 feet per second. About 20 to 25. All right, second shot. .3167, so that dropped down from 3250 to 3167. These are the things that you need to know, and you can only know that by having a chronograph, because all of your settings for distance shooting, for hunting, are based upon that velocity. So if you're off by 100, 150 feet per second, your zero is going to be different, and your long range zero will be different. So that's the importance of knowing your own individual rifle and knowing all its internal and external ballistics, because nobody wants to miss. All right, third shot. A little less than a half-inch group, probably in the 4s somewhere. 3208. So that is kind of interesting. Let's get these numbers here. Okay, that was an average of 3201 from 3350 and an SD of 24.8, which is not necessarily good for long distance shooting. But I think you saw the group now that it's at 100 yards. Now, notice the shot placement. That's about 1 inch high at 100 yards, which is where I try to sight in all my rifles, because that'll generally put me dead on at 200 yards. So my maximum point blank range with a cartridge that's going that fast will be clear out to 300 yards with only 3 inches high, 3 inches low for a maximum of 6 inches. So I can hold dead on out to 300 yards. That's the importance of the chronograph and knowing your ballistics numbers. Now obviously that's much more simplistic than all the stuff that Hornady goes through, but that's just me. I'm simplistic. Okay, so let's switch over to the next rifle now. Okay, up on the bench now is my Uinta Precision UPR 15 chambered in 6mm arc. Now I'll be shooting the same grain bullet, but a totally different construction of this bullet. This is the ELD VT that just came out about a year ago. Shoots really well in this rifle, and I get pretty good, fast anyway, velocities. But we're going to test that with the chronograph. We're going to test the accuracy on the target. Then we'll compare, even though they're the same weight grain bullets, 80 grain and 80 grain. 243 has almost, let's see, from 32 to 44, 12 grains more powder. So it should have at least a lot more velocity, right? Not necessarily so. That's why we test these rifles. All right, so let me go down, turn the camera on down there. Let's go ahead and give this a whirl. Be right back. All right, camera's on down there. So is the chronograph. Now, I haven't shot these bullets since I tested them and then loaded for them. So we'll just see how it works. That's all part of, what kind of Hornady left out was going out and practicing and getting your rifle consistent. The zero can happen with the scope, okay? But getting it consistent from shot to shot, I believe that really has to do with the barrel ammo combination and how they like it. More so than the cartridge, 243, 6mm, whatever, and 6mm arc. But here we go with the 6 arc now. Let's see, am I loaded? Nope. Okay, now I'm loaded. There we go. Target next to the other one, so you'll have a clean target to look at. You get the parallax correct here. Yeah, you got to have the parallax absolutely correct, otherwise your consistency will be way off. All right, here we go. Okay, that's low and to the right. 3259. Now think about that. We'll go over it at the end, but 3259. See if that first shot was an anomaly, cold bore, clean bore, or let's see if it groups. Don't look like cold bore, clean bore anomaly to me, but low and to the right, 3259 again. No, it didn't pick that shot up. Okay, so let me readjust the chronograph here. I don't know why it didn't pick it up, but it didn't pick it up. We might shoot 4 shots here. 4 shots would be closer to the 20 shots that Hornady recommends. All right. Come on. Get comfortable here. Get everything right. .3259, it picked that shot up, so we're dead on with where we were when we started. Okay, so let's go with another one here, just because I missed a shot. All right, a little bit of stringing there on the target. I think that's probably me. .3216. All right, so that average then 3245. An SD of 20. All right, so now let's go compare the targets. Not necessarily the shot placement. Again, the scope can take care of that. I think the last bullets that I shot in this 6mm arc was the 100 grain partition. So obviously that was, that would be a different point of impact. And that's something the Hornady left out. They didn't talk about different bullet weights or any of that kind of stuff. They were talking about the generalities of a wandering zero, and kind of left out the ammo. And it's sort of funny to me because they are an ammo manufacturer and a bullet manufacturer, and I think they would stress that, but they were stressing how to true up your rifle. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, let's go check out that target. Okay, let's take a look at these 2 targets. Over here is the Winchester. I was using factory Winchester 80 grain, an average of 3201, an SD of 24, and a group of less than ½ an inch. Today, 80 degrees, 0 wind, about 20% humidity. Okay, then over here is my 6mm arc. Now, this is why I like new technology. This thing, the 6mm arc, has 11 to 14 grains of powder, less powder. It's a different powder, it's a faster powder, I granted that. But look at the speed, 3245, an SDF 20 under the same conditions. All right, now let's disclose a couple other facts. This is a 26-inch barrel. This is a 22-inch barrel. So that difference, 26 to 22 is 4 inches. Could that contribute to the difference in velocity? Probably so. That's why you need to go ahead and test, get your zero taken care of. Obviously this one has to go up and to the left. I want to be right about there, 1 inch high. All right, folks, well, if you enjoyed this first comparison of the 24 calibers that I own, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave a comment if you will, and check your subscriptions, please. But no matter what, as always, may God bless you all. See you again next time. Goodbye.